Wow, it feels like every time you turn around, there's something new in education, a new tool, a new idea. And honestly, who has the time to sift through it all, right?
Right. Everyone's busy. So that's exactly what we do here on the deep dive. We dive into all that new stuff, whether it's articles, YouTube videos, research papers, you name it, so that you don't have to.
You find the good stuff, the really interesting insights. We try to make it clear and engaging, but also fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll try to point out some of the things that maybe surprised us too.
Yeah. And for today's deep dive, we're looking into artificial intelligence and technology, specifically how they're going to shape the future of education.
That's right. And one of the videos we watched was even titled Education by 2025. So we're not talking about some far-off future.
This is happening now.
Yeah, this is happening right now, and it's going to impact everyone.
So let's jump right in. One of the first things we notice in the research is the idea of personalized learning. This seems like a huge shift away from the traditional classroom model, which has always been kind of a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right, totally. For years, it's felt like education treats everyone the same, like you're just on this conveyor belt. But now with AI, education is starting to become more about individual students.
Yeah, so how does this work?
Well, one of the key things that's happening is that AI programs are being designed to really understand each student. They analyze not just like grades, but also, what are you good at? What do you struggle with?
What interests you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even how you learn best. Like some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners. AI can figure all that out.
Oh, wow.
And the really cool thing is that the AI doesn't just stop there. Like, it doesn't just deliver the same lesson to everyone.
Right.
It actually adapts the teaching methods based on what it learns about you as you go through the material.
So as you're interacting with it,
Right.
as you're progressing.
Exactly. It's constantly learning and tweaking things to make the learning experience better for you.
It's almost like having a personal tutor, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of tutors, that actually brings us to another major change we saw, which is AI-powered intelligent tutoring systems. So what are these exactly?
These are basically virtual tutors that are available to students anytime, anywhere, kind of like having a mentor in your pocket. They can give you tailored feedback, help break down difficult concepts.
Explain things in different ways.
Exactly, until you really get it. And they can also track your progress, see where you're struggling, and even adjust the difficulty of exercises to keep you challenged but not overwhelmed.
Oh, that's cool.
And they can give you immediate feedback, too, which is something that a human tutor can't always do.
Right, right. And we saw some research that suggests that these AI tutors are already making a difference. Yeah, there was a study from the University of Georgia where students who had AI tutors actually did significantly better than students in a traditional classroom setting. Like, the AI group had an average score of 72%, while the traditional group only had 61%.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's definitely evidence that personalized learning powered by AI can really be effective.
And so AI is changing the way we learn, but it's also changing the way schools and universities operate behind the scenes, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing AI streamlining administrative tasks, which can save a ton of time and money for schools.
Okay, so how does this work?
Well, one way is through the use of AI-powered chatbots, those little windows that pop up on websites to help you.
Yeah.
So these chatbots can actually answer student questions about, say, admissions or financial aid without a human having to get involved.
And they can do it really quickly and efficiently.
Right. And the technology behind these chatbots is pretty impressive. It's called natural language processing, or NLP. And it basically allows the chatbot to understand what you're asking, even if you don't phrase it perfectly.
Oh, wow.
And then there's something called robotic process automation, or RPA, which is being used to automate a lot of the repetitive tasks that school staff have to do, like entering data, checking transcripts.
Processing financial aid applications.
Yep, all that stuff. So RPA is saving schools a lot of time and reducing errors, which is great.
So AI is making things more efficient, but it can also help schools predict the future, right? That's where predictive analytics comes in.
Yeah, predictive analytics is all about using data to identify patterns and make predictions about what might happen in the future. So in education, AI is being used to analyze tons of data about students, like their grades, their attendance, how they interact with online learning platforms,
Oh,
to
interesting.
try to identify students who might be at risk of falling behind.
So this could help teachers intervene early and give students the support they need.
Exactly. It's all about being proactive instead of reactive. And it's working.
Is it really?
Yeah. The Global Education Council actually reported that schools using predictive analytics are seeing a 20% increase in student retention rates.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just about keeping students in school, but also about helping them reach their full potential. But it's also important to think about what students are learning, right?
Yeah. Like, are they learning the right things?
Yeah,
Things that will be useful in the future.
exactly. AI is forcing us to think about how education needs to change to prepare students for a world where AI is playing a bigger and bigger role.
Right, because if AI is taking over some jobs, then those skills aren't going to be as useful anymore.
Right. But it's not just about jobs disappearing. It's also about new jobs being created that we can't even imagine yet. The World Economic Forum actually predicts that AI will create 97 million new jobs by 2025.
97 million, that's a lot.
Yeah, but they also predict that AI will displace 85 million jobs. So it's a bit of a mixed bag.
So how do we prepare for this? Like, how do we know what to teach students so they'll be ready for this future?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But one thing that seems clear is that we need to focus more on teaching students how to learn and how to adapt, because the skills they need today might not be the skills they need tomorrow.
That makes sense. So less rote memorization and more critical thinking.
Yeah, exactly. We need to teach them to be problem solvers, to be creative, to be able to think outside the box.
And maybe even to be comfortable with uncertainty, right?
Yeah,
Because things are changing so fast.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to help them develop what's called a growth mindset, which means believing that you can always learn and grow no matter what challenges you face.
Yeah. But the good news is universities are starting to adapt to these changes, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of universities are already updating their curriculums to be more relevant to the future job market.
And they're focusing more on teaching those soft skills like communication and teamwork that are going to be really important in the age of AI.
Exactly. And the universities that are doing this are actually seeing a significant increase in their graduates' employability. Like, one report found that these universities have a 30% increase in employability compared to universities that haven't adapted their curriculums.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is, and it shows that universities are starting to take this seriously, which is great. Now, AI is not only changing what we teach, but also who can learn.
Oh, right, like breaking down language barriers.
Exactly. That's another really exciting development. AI-powered language translation tools are making it possible for students from all over the world to access the same high-quality education, regardless of what language they speak.
Wow. So a student in, say, rural China could take a course from a university in the United States even if they don't speak English.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. And we're already seeing the impact of this. Schools that have implemented AI translation tools have seen a 40% increase in enrollment from non-native English speakers.
That's amazing. That's really making education more accessible to everyone.
Exactly. It's creating a more global and inclusive learning environment, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But, it's even more futuristic. Like, have you heard about AI and extended reality?
No, XR. Yeah, that's the stuff with VR and AR, right? Virtual reality and augmented reality.
That's right. And when you combine these technologies with AI, it opens up some incredible possibilities for education. Imagine, like, learning about ancient Rome by actually walking through a virtual recreation of the city,
Oh, wow.
or learning about anatomy by dissecting a virtual human body. It would be so much more engaging than just reading about it in a textbook.
Right. So you could have learning environments that feel completely real, almost like you're actually there.
Exactly. And it's not just about making things more fun. XR can also make learning more effective. For example, studies have shown that students who learn through VR retain information better than students who learn through traditional methods.
And with AI, these virtual environments can be personalized to each student's needs. Like the AI could track your progress, give you feedback, and even adjust the difficulty of the experience as you go.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And there are already companies that are developing these kinds of platforms. Like Delphi Technologies is using XR and AI to train their employees on how to use complex equipment.
Yeah.
They've created virtual replicas of their equipment, and they're using AI to create personalized avatars that act as virtual instructors.
So it's like having your own personal trainer, but in a virtual world.
Yeah, exactly. And they're seeing amazing results. Like, their training time has been significantly reduced, and their employees are learning more effectively. And then there's Axon Park, which is developing digital universities that are powered by AI and XR.
Oh, so like a whole virtual university.
Yeah, exactly. You have AI assistants that can answer student questions and give them feedback on their work.
Yeah.
And they're using XR to create immersive learning environments that are engaging and effective. And this is just the beginning. Imagine like AI avatars that can read your emotions and adapt the learning environment to your needs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing stuff. And one of the things that's making this all possible is generative AI. This is a type of AI that can actually create things like images, videos, and even text.
So is that how they're creating these realistic virtual worlds?
Yeah, exactly. Generative AI is making it easier and cheaper to create high-quality XR content. And that means that these technologies are becoming more accessible to schools and universities.
Which is great.
And it's not just the content creation that's getting easier. AI is also making it easier to assess student learning in these immersive environments.
Okay, yeah. How do you test someone in VR?
Well, there are a lot of different ways. For example, AI can track how students move through a virtual environment, how they interact with objects, and even where they're looking.
So you can get a much more holistic view of their understanding.
Right. And AI can also analyze their conversations and their written work to assess their critical thinking skills.
Oh, wow.
And there's even research being done on using brainwave data to assess student learning. So, like, you could wear a headset that measures your brain activity while you're learning, and the AI could use that data to personalize your learning experience.
That's incredible. So it's like the AI is actually reading your mind.
In a way, yeah. It is pretty amazing stuff. But speaking of assessment, all this new technology raises some interesting questions about the future of learning management systems, or LMS as we know them.
Yeah, because most LMSs are built around the traditional model of education, right?
Exactly. They're designed to deliver content, track grades, and basically manage the classroom. But with all this new AI-powered stuff, it's not clear if LMSs are going to be able to keep up. Like, what if the future of LMS is more like a personalized AI tutor that guides you through your learning journey?
Or maybe it's a system that's so integrated into our lives that we don't even notice it. Like it's just there in the background, helping us learn and grow.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. It's hard to say exactly what the future holds, but one thing's for sure. LMSs are going to have to evolve if they want to stay relevant in the age of AI. But with all this talk about AI, it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's not a replacement for human connection and interaction. In fact, AI is actually going to make the human element in education even more important.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, as AI takes over more and more of the routine tasks, teachers are going to be able to focus more on building relationships with students, mentoring them, and helping them develop those essential soft skills that AI can't replicate.
Like empathy and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Those
Huh.
are the skills that are going to be really valuable in the future because those are the things that make us human.
And that AI can't do.
Right. So I think we're moving towards a future where AI and humans work together in education to create a learning experience that's personalized, engaging, and effective. But that does raise concerns about jobs, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that AI is going to take away their jobs.
That's a valid concern. And it's definitely possible that some jobs will be automated. But it's also important to remember that AI is creating new jobs too. Like, we're going to need people to design, build, and maintain all these AI systems. We're going to need people to teach others how to use AI, and we're going to need people to think about the ethical implications of AI and make sure that it's used for good.
So it's not necessarily about jobs disappearing. It's about jobs changing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about being adaptable and willing to learn new things. So it's important to stay curious, to keep learning, and to be open to new opportunities.
And it sounds like universities are starting to get that message.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they're not the only ones. Even companies are starting to realize that they need to invest in their employees' skills development because the skills they need today might not be the skills they need tomorrow. So we're seeing a lot of companies offering their employees opportunities to upskill and reskill.
So it's like lifelong learning is becoming more and more important.
Yeah, it really is. Because in a world where technology is changing so rapidly, the only way to stay ahead of the curve is to keep learning.
And it's fascinating to think that while all this AI stuff feels so new and cutting edge, the idea of using technology to enhance education has actually been around for a long time.
You're absolutely right. Like, think about the printing press. That was a revolutionary technology that made it possible to spread knowledge and ideas more widely than ever before. And then there was radio and television, which brought education into people's homes. And now we have computers and the internet, which have completely transformed the way we learn.
Right. So we're just seeing the latest evolution of that trend.
Exactly. And with AI, I think we're on the cusp of something truly transformative. But it's also important to be mindful of the potential downsides of technology in education.
Oh, right. Like, what are some of those?
Well, one concern is that technology can be distracting. Like if you're trying to learn something online, it's easy to get sidetracked by social media or email.
Oh, for sure.
And another concern is that technology can sometimes create a sense of isolation. Like if you're spending all your time learning online, you might miss out on the social interaction that's so important for learning and development.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's important to strike a balance. We need to use technology in a way that enhances education without undermining the human connection that's so essential. But another issue is that our current education system, the way it's structured, might not be the best way to use all this cool technology.
Oh, right. Like the traditional model of education with its standardized tests and lectures.
Yeah, that model is starting to look pretty outdated in the age of AI.
Because it's not really preparing students for the real world, right?
Exactly. Like in the real world, you don't get multiple choice tests. You have to be able to solve complex problems, think critically, and work collaboratively. And a lot of experts believe that our current education system isn't doing a good enough job of teaching those skills.
So what needs to change?
Well, that's a big question. But one thing that a lot of people are talking about is the need for more personalized learning.
Hmm.
Like, instead of everyone learning the same thing at the same pace,
Mm.
what if we could tailor education to each student's individual needs and interests?
Oh, right. That's what we were talking about earlier with the AI tutors and everything.
Exactly. So AI could really play a big role in making personalized learning a reality, and that could have a huge impact on student engagement and achievement.
And another thing that needs to change is the way we assess student learning.
Oh, absolutely. Standardized tests are a terrible way to measure what students know and can do.
Because they only measure a very narrow range of skills.
Right. And they don't really tell us anything about a student's creativity, critical thinking skills, or ability to solve real-world problems.
So we need to find better ways to assess student learning.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people working on that. Like, there are new types of assessments being developed that are more project-based and that focus on measuring 21st century skills.
So it sounds like we're on the verge of a major shift in education.
Yeah, I think we are. And AI is going to be a big part of that shift. But it's important to remember that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's up to us to use it in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a good point. So how do we make sure that AI is used for good in education?
Well, I think it starts with having a conversation about it.
Hmm.
Like, we need to talk about the potential benefits and risks of AI in education. And we need to make sure that everyone has a voice in that conversation. Teachers, parents, students, policymakers, everyone. Because it's going to take all of us working together to make sure that AI is used in a way that creates a more equitable and effective education system for all.
That's a great point. And it's important to remember that this isn't just about the future.
Right.
This is happening now.
Yeah. AI is already being used in classrooms around the world, and its impact is only going to grow in the coming years.
Yeah. So we need to be prepared.
We do. And that means being informed about the potential of AI, being aware of the risks, and being willing to adapt and change. But this whole thing about rethinking how we deliver education isn't really new, is it?
No, you're right. I mean, people have been talking about this for years.
Yeah, it's just that now, with AI, we have the tools to actually make it happen.
Yeah. So maybe this time it's different.
Yeah, maybe it is. Let's hope so. Anyway.
I think it's interesting, that you mentioned earlier how AI is already in classrooms, and it made me think about something a teacher friend of mine told me. She had this top student, super bright kid,
Oh, yeah.
and one day she was talking to him about how he was learning the material so well, and she found out that he wasn't even really using the textbook or her lectures. He was basically learning everything from YouTube videos made by other teachers.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he said that the reason he preferred those videos is because they were clearer, more engaging, and just explained things better than she did. Yeah. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, what does that mean for teachers? Like, if AI can already create learning materials that are better than what some human teachers can produce, then what does the future hold for the teaching profession?
Right.
35 years ago, when I was first looking for a teaching job, it was so hard to find one. Like, there were just so many people competing for so few positions.
Right, yeah.
But now it's the opposite. There are huge teacher shortages everywhere.
That's true.
So it's clear that the teaching profession is changing. And I think AI is going to play a big role in that change. But I don't think it's going to replace teachers altogether. I think it's going to augment their role,
Yeah, make them even better.
Yeah. Like AI can take care of a lot of the routine tasks like grading and lesson planning so that teachers can focus more on building relationships with students, mentoring them, and helping them develop those essential soft skills.
And, those skills are becoming even more important in the workplace, too. Like, employers are looking for people who can think critically, solve problems, and work effectively in teams.
Right, so it's not just about education anymore. It's about preparing students for life.
Exactly. And I think AI can help us do that better than ever before. But it's interesting to think about why education has been so slow to adopt technology compared to other fields. Like, look at how technology has transformed industries like music and telecom. They're completely different now than they were 35 years ago.
Yeah, but education still looks pretty much the same. Like we're still using textbooks, we're still giving lectures, we're still giving standardized tests.
Right. It's like the factory model of education is still alive and well.
But it's not really working, is it? I mean, we have high dropout rates, we have teacher burnout, we have students who are bored and disengaged.
And the pandemic really exposed the flaws in that model, didn't it? Like when schools were forced to go online, a lot of them just tried to replicate the traditional classroom experience online.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Students were disengaged, they were falling behind, and everyone was stressed out.
Yeah, it was a mess. But it also showed us that there's a different way to do things. Like we saw that online learning can be effective if it's done right.
Right. And I think we're going to see a lot more innovation in education in the coming years as schools and universities start to embrace the potential of technology. And I think AI is going to be at the heart of that innovation. But there are a lot of challenges too. Like we have to figure out how to use AI in a way that's equitable and ethical. We have to make sure that everyone has access to the technology and that it's not used to exacerbate existing inequalities.
That's a good point.
And we have to be careful not to let technology replace the human element in education. Like, we still need teachers, we still need mentors, we still need human connection.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Exactly. So it's a really exciting time to be in education. Like, there's so much potential, so much possibility. But it's also a time for caution and careful consideration.
Yeah. We need to be thoughtful about how we use AI in education.
We do.
Mhm.
But if we do it right, I think it has the potential to transform education for the better.
All this makes me think about something I read a while back. It was a quote by this guy named Sugata Mitra. He's a big education researcher.
Oh, yeah, I heard of them.
He said, any teacher who can be replaced by a computer should be.
That's a pretty provocative statement.
Yeah, it is. And it got me thinking, like, what does that mean for the future of teaching? Like, if AI can do a lot of the things that teachers do now, then what's the role of the teacher going to be?
Right.
And, I think one of the key things that teachers do that AI can't do is build relationships with students. Like, teachers are mentors, they're role models, they're confidants. And those are things that AI can't replicate.
Yeah, I agree. AI can teach content, but it can't teach empathy or compassion. And those are the things that make a good teacher.
Right. So I think the role of the teacher is going to evolve, but it's not going to disappear.
Yeah, I think that's right. Teachers are going to need to adapt to the changing landscape of education, but they're still going to be essential. But this whole thing about education needing to change, it makes me think about another interesting point. A lot of times when people talk about changing education, they focus on the technology. Like they're all excited about AI tutors and VR classrooms and all that.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that technology is just a tool. Like it's not a magic bullet. The real change needs to happen at a deeper level. Like we need to change our mindset about education.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, like, for example, we need to stop thinking of education as something that happens in a classroom at a certain time with a certain teacher.
Right.
Like education should be happening all the time, everywhere. It should be a lifelong pursuit.
Yeah, I like that.
And we need to stop thinking of education as something that's done to students. Like we need to start thinking of it as something that students do for themselves.
So it's about empowering students to take ownership of their learning.
Exactly. And technology can help us do that. Like with AI, we can create personalized learning experiences that are tailored to each student's individual needs and interests. We can give them access to information and resources from all over the world. And we can connect them with other learners who share their passions.
So it's about using technology to create a more learner-centered education system.
Exactly. But even with all this potential, sometimes it feels like the pace of change in education is so slow. It's like we're stuck in this rut.
Yeah, it can be frustrating.
Like, I remember reading this research study a while back where they surveyed a bunch of students about their experiences in school,
Oh, yeah.
and the overwhelming majority of them said they were bored. Like, they felt like school wasn't relevant to their lives, and they weren't learning the things they needed to know to succeed in the real world.
Mm.
And they wanted more opportunities for collaboration, more personalized support from their teachers, and more choice in what they were learning.
So it's like they're craving a more engaging and meaningful learning experience.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need to give them. But, there are a lot of systemic barriers to change in education.
Hmm.
Like, we have all these laws and regulations and standardized tests that are designed for the old model of education.
Right. And changing all that is going to take time.
Yeah, it is. But I
Hmm.
think it's important to start somewhere. Like, we need to start having conversations about what we want education to look like in the future. And we need to start experimenting with new approaches.
Yeah. Like even small changes can make a big difference.
Exactly. And I think one of the most important things we can do is to start thinking differently about the role of the teacher.
Okay.
Like, instead of thinking of teachers as the dispensers of knowledge, we need to start thinking of them as the facilitators of learning.
Oh, I like that.
Like, their role is to create a learning environment where students can explore their interests, discover their passions, and develop their skills.
So it's about moving from a teacher-centered model to a learner-centered model.
Exactly. And AI can help us do that. Like,
Yeah.
AI can free up teachers from a lot of the routine tasks, like grading and lesson planning, so
Mm.
that they can spend more time working with students one-on-one.
Yeah, and that would be a huge benefit for both teachers and students. But all of this begs the question, like, what will schools actually look like in the future?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
Yeah.
But I think we can make some educated guesses based on what we're seeing happening in education today. Like, I think we're going to see a lot more personalized learning where students are able to learn at their own pace and in their own way.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot more technology integrated into the classroom.
Yeah, definitely. Like AI tutors, VR classrooms, personalized learning platforms, all that stuff is going to become more and more commonplace.
And I think we're going to see a shift away from the traditional model of education, where the teacher stands at the front of the classroom and lectures to the students.
Right. Like, I think we're going to see more collaborative learning, more project-based learning, and more hands-on learning.
This is going to be a much more active and engaging learning experience for students.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think that the role of the teacher is going to be more important than ever. Like, teachers are going to need to be able to guide students through this new landscape of learning. They're going to need to be able to help them develop the skills they need to succeed in the real world. And they're going to need to be able to build relationships with students and create a sense of community in the classroom.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's all about human connection.
It is. And I think that's something that we need to keep in mind as we move forward with all this exciting new technology.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be in education. Like, there's so much potential for change, so much opportunity to create something truly amazing. But it's also a time for caution and careful consideration. Like, we need to make sure that we're using technology in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
And we need to make sure that we're not losing sight of the human element in education.
Right. Technology is a tool, but it's not a replacement for human connection.
Exactly. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward.
Hmm.
But, when we're thinking about what the future of education looks like, I think it's helpful to look at what some innovators are already doing.
Oh, yeah. Like, who are you thinking of?
Well, one person who's really pushing the boundaries of education is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah, the guy who runs Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, that's him. And he's also the founder of a school called Ad Astra.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's like a super exclusive school for gifted kids, right?
Yeah, something like that. But what's interesting about Ad Astra is that it's not just about academics. Musk is really focused on developing the whole child. Like, he wants to help kids develop their creativity, their critical thinking skills, and their problem-solving abilities.